My name is Jimmy Maxwell, and I'm chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Jimmy Maxwell.
And I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? How is that even possible? Because I knew there was nobody following us when we left. I thought that's why I relaxed, because I thought there's no way they could pinpoint me now. And because nobody knew. And I wouldn't let anybody talk on the phone and tell them where we were at or nothing. So I'm thinking we're good. So it was just such a shock to me, you know. And
who gave you up, do you think?
Oh, well, somebody told them. They found somebody that told them the apartment building that my daughter lived in. They didn't know where she lived exactly. They just knew what apartments. That's why when they went there, they had somebody sitting out there. They did have somebody sitting out in that parking lot watching, but they didn't know where to go, what the room number was, the apartment number was yet. So I didn't know all this, of course, but but when I found out what happened was the guy that was watching said, I don't know if this is because I changed clothes, you know, and I got my arm in a sling. I got a ball cap on, you know, my hair, I had long hair at the time, and it was all tucked up under my hat. And so he told them he didn't know, but he sees a guy that could maybe possibly fit the description, get into a red truck. And so they told him to stay put, you know, and they let me drive off. Well, just by some stroke of fate, you know, luck on their part, bad luck on mine, as we're going down the freaking highway, leaving, after I see that nobody's followed us, they spot the red truck going. They're going the other way, headed towards my daughter's apartment complex. And they see that red truck. So they whip it around and they start trying to catch up. And then, of course, they call in the other people and they start following us. And unbeknownst to me, totally clueless, you know what I mean? And so when they finally did, and they even followed us through that neighborhood where I told you we stopped for a second, you know, and which just allowed them more time to gather more forces. And so they when they pulled us over, you know, I'm telling the dude, they're telling him, driver, throw the keys down. I'm like, that drive off, you know, but and he throws the keys out, which I don't blame him. I'm not mad at him, you know what I mean, for that. But you know, I'm just like, I couldn't even believe what's happening, really. But so he gets out, he's laying down. That leaves me and my daughter, she's a wild child, you know what I mean? She's not going to give up easy either. But they're telling me to get out. They're going to shoot and do this and that. And she's just begging me to comply at this point, you know? Yeah. And because she's afraid she's not getting out. She's trying to like keep me from being shot. So she doesn't want to leave. But I'm like, you know, I break my phone. I don't want anybody else to get any heat, you know, and I'm just so stunned at that point that they had got me, you know what I mean? And this is 12, 13, 14 hours later, after all the shit I just went through, you know, and I'm sitting in there, I'm just so, I don't know what really come over me. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't really think of my cop as is something that I think about or anything. I just don't think sometimes, you know what I mean? I just get mad, I get frustrated, and I just blink out. So finally, you know, I just got out of the truck and I told them, you know, and they come running up, you know, and the guy had a shotgun, you know, and he runs up and I'm like, you know, when I turn around and I take off and he shot me right in the back. And, you know, I honestly thought that I was dead. I thought it was over with. And it's the weirdest thing. It was almost relief.
What'd he shoot you with? The bean
There was
bags
a
or
bean
the
bag about this big that left a freaking black mark on my back that would knock me to my knees. But I didn't know this.
feels like you're shot, right?
They come in shotgun, and they shoot them out of shotguns and a shotgun shell. And so, honestly, I didn't realize that I hadn't been really shot. I didn't realize I hadn't been killed until I hit the ground. I hit my knees, and then I just we're going to refuse to die until I died, and I stood back up. As soon as I was able to stand back up, breathe, I knew that it was a beanbag or something. I knew it wasn't a shotgun shell tearing my chest out, and so I took off again. They shot me with the tasers, and I don't know how I got loose from that, but I got loose from that. And they're all converging on me now. And then the dog come after me, and at this time I'm at the fence, and they're all, they're yelling and threatening to shoot me. And I guess the dog probably kept from shooting me because he was in the way. And and I turned around, and I think the dog got into the wires a little bit because, I turned around and just smacked him, and he just looked at me stupidly instead of just tearing my arm off. He just looked like, I think he was wrapped up in the wires a little bit. And I just, but they just crawled all over me. The cops did, and that was the end of that little escape. But,
so then they put you in the jail, and that's when Lockup comes to you about the interview.
Absolutely.
Now, do they bring you to see your son?
Well, they did they spent about a month and a half. They even left and went back to California and came back, but they really got into the whole father and son. And then they started looking into who I was, and I would tell them stories like I'm telling you, sometimes when we were doing, whatever. And they're the ones that actually said, "Man, you really ought to write a book." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not that interested." But they'd be like, they were like, "Yeah, you'd be surprised, And so while Susan was gone, I wrote a story about when I escaped out of a bus from the county jail one time, and so I gave it to her when she come back, and anyway, it just kind of develops, the whole like pushing me in that direction type of thing. So I kind of credit that crew as the ones that really kind of and I enjoyed writing the story, actually, and I realized, and it was actually pretty good. I'm not as good at, obviously you learn about how to write and do it better, and as you go, it's like peeling an onion, learning writing in that language and all that. But but it was good, it's interesting, and I liked it and I enjoyed it, and it just something just developed in me with that.
And you get a lot of views on your episodes.
Yeah, the book sales and stuff go up a little bit. I don't know. It's hard for me. My wife will say will notice when there's a boost or something, and she'll go back and find, they aired this episode, and so yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm gonna try to get you as many book sales as I can. Tell the people what your book is and where they can get it.
Oh, it's the main one is American Outlaw, Price of Pride. It's pretty much tells you everything that me and Staxx have been talking about. A lot of it. I got a book called American Kid, The End of Innocence. That's we talked about that, and then another book called American Teenager, The War to the Court, and it covers everything up to the point where I went to that other place. I still have a couple books to go, and then, American Outlaw. I have a standalone book called Tangalai that I wrote about a bank burglar friend of mine, which I really enjoyed writing because it wasn't about me. When you write about yourself, you have to stay in that the voice is only about what you knew and what you could see, what's coming from you. But as I wrote about him, I had all this paperwork, and I had him, and so I seen what the cops were doing and how they got him, you know what I mean, through his paperwork. And so I was able to kind of like, you know, I put a disclaimer in there. I did give him a personality and different things, you know, but I followed exactly how they found him and caught him and all that. But that was a fun story to write, you know what I mean, because I could come at it from a more omnipotent.
It's a different perspective, right?
Yeah. But you know, they're on Amazon or Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, and I'll put a link in the description of the video, and you can check out his books. So, what's in store for the future for you?
We're building our following. You know, I got merch out now. You know, some t-shirts and tank tops and things like that. We're going to do some more of that, but and the books but what we really are wanting to do is use the platform that we have in ways that can help other people. We're actually looking for businesses or people that are putting rallies together or whatever, that have charities that we can relate with, that we may be able to help with, and as well as stuff that we can do ourselves, and that we can be, you know, we wanted to build our brand, but we want to build it in a way that's actually not just self-serving, but also serving others. I have a lot to overcome, and I think coming from where I came from and going as far as I can to being a righteous citizen that can be helpful to other people and to help guide people from doing the same things. I think that's a noble endeavor. You know, I mean, it makes me feel like, you know, that life isn't wasted.
Definitely. Well, I look forward to seeing where your journey goes, and if you're ever interested in doing a documentary or a TV series, I know a lot of people, man. I could connect you in the right direction.
Hey, man, we're wherever this leads is where it leads, and I'm down for just about anything. You know, as long as we're just making progress in that direction.
Definitely. I appreciate you taking the time coming on my show, man.
Hey, man, that's an honor, man. It's an honor, brother.
Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we go?
Yes. You know, first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my wife, Karen. I mean, I couldn't have done any of this without her. I mean, she's been with me the last 13 years, you know, and staying true and standing by my side, and, you know, helping me to keep my head level and straight. And we're not, you know, maybe getting out. She's really helped guide this whole path. And I just, if anybody deserves the most shout out, that would be her. And, you know, of course, you know, there's a few other people, and, you know, like Tony Mack, and I told you about him. He's dead now, but he was a big inspiration for me. He used to be as bad as me. We used to rob dealers together, and he became an evangelist. I mean, and he became the kind of evangelist that was pure of heart. And he was an inspiration to me. Not that I'm nowhere near like he is, and I'm not going to be an evangelist, but I'm just that was my best friend, and he passed away, and if you ask me who deserves a lot of respect from me and some of the changes in thought, the ways of my thinking, that would be him. You know, my kids and my grandkids, they're like little, you know, anchors in my life, and I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, man, no doubt. Well, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too bad. Start your own podcast.
Peace out, man.